When Robert E. Howard began to chronicle the adventures of Conan the Cimmerian, more than 85 years ago, he prepared a fictional history of the so-called Hyborian Age, which he had created. That history dealt not only with the period during and after Conan's exceptional life, but also with events some 8,000 years earlier, during the so-called Thurian civilization, which produced King Cool, the exiled warrior of Atlantis in the days before that continent sank into the surging seas. Of that epoch, known by the Nemedian chroniclers as the pre-cataclysmic age, little is known, except the latter part, and that is veiled in the mists of legend. Known history begins with the waning of the civilization of the main, or Thurian continent, a civilization dominated by the shining kingdoms of Camellia, Valusia, Verulia, Grondar, Thule, and Comoria. These people spoke a similar language, arguing a common origin. There were also the savage Atlanteans, who dwelt on a small continent between the Pictish Islands and the Thurian continent, and the Lemurians, who inhabited a chain of large islands in the eastern hemisphere. There were vast regions of unexplored land. The civilized kingdoms, though enormous, occupied a comparatively small portion of the whole planet. Valusia was the westernmost kingdom of the Thurian continent. Her capital, the City of Wonders, was the marvel of her age. Grondar, whose people were less highly cultured than those of kindred kingdoms, was the easternmost land. Among the less arid stretches of desert east of Grondar, in the serpent-infested jungles, and among the snow-peaked mountains, there lived scattered clans and tribes of primitive savages and semi-humans. On the far eastern shores of the Thurian continent, there also dwelt another race, human, but mysterious, and non-Thurian, with which the Lemurians from time to time came in contact. It is told that they apparently came from a shadowy and nameless continent, lying somewhere east of the Lemurian Islands. Far to the south, there was a second mysterious civilization, unconnected with the Thurian culture, and apparently pre-human in nature. The Thurian civilization was crumbling fast during these days. Much like the late Roman Empire of our times, their armies were composed largely of barbarian mercenaries, of the bickering of the kingdoms, and the wars between Valusia and Comoria, as well as the conquests by which the Atlanteans founded a kingdom on the mainland. There are more legends than accurate history. Then the great cataclysm rocked the world. Atlantis and Lemuria sank, and the Pictish Islands were heaved up to form the giant mountain peaks of a new continent, while sections of the Thurian continent vanished under the waves, or, sinking, formed great inland lakes and seas. Volcanoes broke forth, and terrific earthquakes shook down the shining cities of the empires. Whole nations were blotted out, and the face of the world was forever changed. The great cataclysm gave way to the rise of the Hyborian Age,